We have Mr. Rani in the studio. But before that, let's tell you about the biggest story also that came out on the economy yesterday, and that's Nigeria's official inflation rate. It eased further to 15.06%. That was February, down from 15.10% in January. That's the 11th consecutive month of this inflation, even though we see that the difference was really, not so much. Well, the number of course, according to National Bureau of Statistics, so that's slightly below the forecast by financial derivatives company FDC. The figure aligns with earlier projections of a continued slowdown in price of growth. Core inflation also eased from 17.72% to 15.88%, supported by a stable naira and high base effect. However, food inflation, we saw that rose sharply to 12.12%, driven by early bulk buying ahead of the Ramadan fasting, which is coming to an end this week. And then urban inflation stood at 15.53%, while rural inflation dropped also. So to help us understand the implication and direction of this and what to expect, we have the Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company, Mr. Bismarck Rwani. Mr. Rwani, good to have you in the studio.
Good morning.
It must be an important topic seeing you in the studio.
Oh yes, inflation is very important.
All right, just before we head to inflation, which is our core conversation this morning, Mr. Oyedele has now been confirmed and sworn in. We say congratulations to him.
Sure.
But I hope he knows that this is a hot seat, because we've always been talking about how now the monetary authorities seem to be doing well, but there's a lot of question on how the fiscal authority, and he's now coming to join Mr. Wale Edu on the fiscal side, so he has a lot of work. This is more than tax.
No, it's not more than tax.
It's not more than tax, okay.
In the end, everything is about character. So for those who know Mr. Oyedele, he's a man of integrity and discipline. So as long as that is there, you are not likely to see any surprises. So the professional bodies and the body of economists are confident that Mr. Oyedele will not give us any negative surprises.
And we hope that he will still answer us when we call him.
He will.
All right, so let's talk about inflation now. Yes. We saw that just a slight difference on inflation numbers. I wonder if that means a whole lot to even start with.
Well, no, first of all, let's make it clear that historical inflation is not as important as inflation expectations. So in the month of February, we had the old Ramadan fasting, and it had an impact. One, the impact was that you see the price of millet, which is used for kunu, right, and pap. We saw the price of gari up, and we saw also the price of maize also went up. But the reality is that these things are used for fasting, and in the period of fasting, actually, data shows that even though people eat twice a day, before fasting and after fasting, the total amount of food consumed actually is more than that during normal periods. So, and it is true that many of the bulk purchases which were done actually affected this. So we had beans, actually, that's the third one. Beans, which is used for the bean cake, which is akara, and moi moi used. They had the millet, which is for kunu, and also for animal feed, and also we saw gari increase. But the interesting thing here is that if you look at the state-by-state inflation, right? Firstly, we expect that on February 28th was when the Iran conflict started. Now, the impact of that will be felt in the March inflation numbers. I will not be surprised, and we haven't subjected it to scrutiny and analysis yet, but I will not be surprised if inflation increases in the month of March past 15 all the way to 16 or maybe 17% all over the world. It's a global thing. One, the price of petrol. Two, the price of diesel. And three, the impact of the price of petrol on inflation. Every 1% increase in the price of PMS leads to about a 0.079 increase in the rate of inflation. So
that means that, I mean, the inflation number from the month of March,
it's
let's just hold our breath. It's going to be really high.
No, it's going to be very high. And it's just not Nigeria, it's everywhere. So and that's when you have aberrational factors like the war in Iran. In any case, the war in Iran was supposed to be open and shut within 1 week. But now I think it's going to be a long one. And the longer it lasts, the greater the impact. So 1 is the price of fuel, 2 is the logistics disruption cost, and 3 is all the uncertainty built into it.
Yeah, and it looks like it's not, I don't want to say it's getting worse, but it seems to be a reality because President Trump is calling his allies to assist in protecting movement along the Straits of Hormuz, and he's not getting any positive response.
The reality is that I think it was clear, and where we come from, they say, if you drink pepper soup the way you drink water, you have yourself to blame. So I think that's what is happening. Venezuela is water, Iran is pepper soup, and that's what's happening.
So he thought he would be able to deal with Iran the way he dealt with Venezuela.
No, they're 2 different things.
Yeah, but it's so unfortunate that the world is paying for it now. Everywhere, everybody is feeling the impact, including Americans.
Yeah, and when day becomes night, everybody's house is covered. Yeah. So let us look at, in Nigeria, let us see state-by-state inflation. The highest inflation, Kogi, Benue, and Anambra, which is interesting. But food inflation, for that matter, whilst the lowest food inflation was in Katsina State at 5%, the highest food inflation was in Kogi State, like last month, at 26%, Adamawa at 23%, and Benue at 21%. What is common to these 3 states? Insecurity. What is common to these 3 states is that farmers are also going backwards in terms of trying to cut back on their production because they cannot get their products to the market because of insecurity. So,
and we saw that explosion in Maiduguri yesterday.
It's a disaster. But if you look at the inflation stoking factors, which is very important, because we are going into March, and they say, beware the Ides of March. That's what Julius Caesar said. First and foremost, since March, so let's go back. In February we had a drop in the price of petrol, PMS. But in March, we've seen PMS go up by 46.8% and diesel up 52%. Remember I said every 1% increase in the price of PMS could lead to a 0.079% increase in inflation. So you are looking at, arithmetically, you are looking at almost a 4% increase in inflation because of petrol. So that is something that we have to worry about. Transportation costs up by 20%. Transportation costs had held its own for some time, but now we expect transportation costs to increase by 20%, logistics costs to increase by the same amount. Food inflation has returned to its former high, up from 8 to 12%, and global supply disruptions are affecting things. So what do we see? We see Easter is 4th and 5th of April, and after that you also have the primaries and congresses, which means that political spending is spending without increase in productivity, which leads to further inflation. Also, you must note that you talked about Nigerian yield and bonds and all Euro bonds according to Nairametrics, but the truth is that because interest rates are not going to decline, today is the day the Federal Reserve is going to be meeting to talk about, actually it's tomorrow, Wednesday, they're going to be talking about interest rates. We are clear, and it's quite, everybody's confident that interest rates are not going to be brought down. As a matter of fact, Australia increases interest rates. It's expected that the Bank of England could also...
They're also having this week, too,
yes,
the Bank of England.
There's some talk about them increasing interest rates. So from the consensus opinion that global interest rates are going to be declining, and therefore foreign portfolio investments will come over to Nigeria, that's not going to happen.
So do you think that perhaps the MPC would regret the cuts?
No. The MPC, some people expected that it would go by 1%, even 1.5%, but they did only a marginal cut. So they were smart. Cardoso's discussion was on the 23rd of April, sorry, 24th of February, and 28th of February was when the attack took place. So it was like he had a premonition that something could happen, and he talked about the possibility of exogenous shocks. So being cautious, and we said it that time that it was being cautious, was paid off this time. So as far as Nigerian macroeconomic stability is concerned, everybody is going to come to the table. In April, we are going to have next month, we are going to have the World Bank spring meetings. So all those rosy projections in January and February have been put on hold.
Yeah.
Right? And now we are talking about crisis and response to crisis. So that is very, very important. So how does it fit into the Nigerian game plan and the projections for 2026 into 2027? It means that imported inflation is right here with us. It also means that the central bank was very smart in not allowing the naira to appreciate sharply because the price of oil increased and everybody thought that was going to happen. No, it was clever not to do that. It was smart and prudent not to do that. Then what happens next? What happens next is that in the months of April and May, rather than see, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, but it is unlikely that in May the Monetary Policy Committee will go for another cut. It is unlikely because inflation is going to be spiking upwards in March and April that we are going to be more cautious. And what is going to happen is that because wages, right, the impact on wages, there's wage resistance. People are now beginning to buy less in quantity and also buy less in quality. And so the discussion out there that Nigeria is trying to ban sachets and all that, people can only buy that which they can afford. So we expect that there's going to be a kind of contraction in economic activity. However, because government revenue will increase based on the price of oil, right, and the production of oil
and
as well.
And even the new taxes.
The new taxes, yes, that's an implementation thing, and that is for 2026. It's not retroactive, so you only tax income or earnings,
true.
right?
Correct,
so
yeah.
We don't expect that. But the one critical thing is that oil production is down, but also it is possible that some oil was pre-sold under those arrangements. If you pre-sold your oil, no matter how high the price of oil is,
you're still selling with the old contracts that
absolutely. So,
so you're not even
that we say you're out of the money. That's
except
what it
to
is.
increase our production. But Mr. Rani, thank you so much for always painting the bigger picture for us to see. Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company, Mr. Bismarck Rowani.
Thank you for having me.